Alright guys, this weekend is the Big Bass Bash. It is Tuesday right now when I'm filming this. As you can see, sunny skies. It's warm, looks like I'm dressed for summer. It's like 70 something degrees. It is a beautiful day. So I've been running around, I checked a few things today. Just trying different patterns, little different parts of the lake, see what everything looks like for this weekend. And here to give you, I guess, a little bit of report of kind of some of my findings today of what I know is going on and what I saw. Maybe they can help you, you know, catch some big fish, get some checks, maybe even catch $100,000 fish. But first thing I want to talk about is the water temperature. Now, I've been fishing up here on the lower end. I did run down to Toll Bridge area, let's say, and I did also go up into the Gravelway, and pretty well, once it hit afternoon, water temp was around 60, even out on the main lake. I believe right now it is about 60, 61 out here in this deep cove, basically, you know, main lake. You can see it right behind me. When I got out this morning, water temp was about 56, I think, 57, somewhere in there. So it's warming up, you know, in the afternoon, and then as it cools down a little bit overnight, you lose a little bit of warmth, so on and so forth. But the biggest thing is looking ahead here. So, you know, normally this time of year you get weather like this and then it dips back down pretty quick. Well, this week in particular, it is supposed to stay in the 70s, 80s even, I think a couple days still, until Saturday. I think a storm is supposed to come in, maybe some weather Saturday morning or something, and I believe Sunday was supposed to cool off a little bit. So basically what that means is this water temperature is gonna stay where it's at and or warm up a little bit more. I don't know what it is up the river, way up the lake, whatever, but it's warmer than here. So I would say up the river in that area, your shallow bite should really be kicking off. You know, spinner baits, you can throw glide baits and stuff up there. Top water's even going to be coming into the mix. It's time of the year where you can just pretty much almost throw whatever you want and get that going on. Now, I don't know the water clarity as much up there. I have heard a little bit that it's not too bad. It's actually pretty clear for this time of the year, but I do know here on the lower end, it's very clear. Over, you know, just right outside the dam, that little section, the first 3-4 miles, very, very clear. As you do get a little bit further west, a little further away from the dam, you do get a little bit of color more in the main lake. As you get further down into the Toll Bridge area, you do get a little bit more color in the water. It's not much, but you get a little bit of something. I'm talking up here on the dam, it looks like table rock right now. So you have the river, which is one end of the spectrum, which is going to be you know, a little bit more color, shallow bite, whatever. It warms up quicker. It's just shallower water in general, but it's also more susceptible to, you know, colder weather, rain, whatever moves in. The lower end here, it's deeper, cleaner. It's just usually takes, you know, a little bit longer to warm up. It's pretty warm already for this time of year, and it's seen a lot of fish pushed up today, closer to the bank. Really, there are a lot of smaller bass. There's also a lot of drum and stuff too, but definitely some smaller bass. And I saw a couple decent ones cruising along the bank too. And I, you know, was trying to cover some water today with rock crawler and stuff like that, crankbaits, spinner baits. But the biggest thing up here on the lower end right now that's really been annoying has been slime. As I'm just going to call it slime. If you ever fished table rock before this time of the year, a lot of times they're notorious for getting this green slime algae that just grows just a little bit off the bank. Because right when that water can penetrate in at a good depth, it grows like a certain window, and that is what's happening right here right now on the lower end. So it's been really hard to rock crawl, shallow crankbaits, anything, even throwing like a Shaky Head or a Zoom brush hog or something shallow up on the bank and bring it off a little bit has been tough, because you get so much moss on there that it's almost unfishable. So to target some of those fish, I feel like you almost need to use like a spinner bait, keep it high in the water column, or like a swim bait or something that just stays in the water column and never gets on the bottom. So that's something to keep in mind if you know, come down, you really like to throw rock crawlers or stuff like that, that maybe this isn't the best part of the lake to kind of focus on that right now, just because of that slime. Now, as I did go a little bit closer down by like the Toll Bridge area, it seemed to be pretty clean. I rock crawled quite a few banks and stuff, and I didn't have really any trouble with moss, maybe here or there, but nothing like it is up here. So that's something to keep in mind. And then of course, like your mid-lake, your glaze area and stuff like that, you should be pretty decent to rock crawl or crankbait. You shouldn't really have to deal with so much of that moss, because it doesn't just have quite the water clarity as it's going to have up here. It's mostly up here, and then like I said, I went a decent way up in the Gravelway, and further out towards the main part of the gravelway, it was very clear. As you did go further back in the shallow area, it got a little more stained, and the moss was there in some spots, but not as much of a problem. So now we can talk about some baits and some stuff that I did today. And we'll start with, I guess, some of the more consistent things, and that was the old Carolina rig. I really don't like to throw this that much, but I picked it up because I knew it would probably land me some fish today, and I threw it probably the most today, actually, just kind of him-hawing around with it. But I got a Senko on it right now. That worked. I caught some on a little Zoom Baby Brush Hog on there. Just a watermelon, just because it's so clear up here. I went to the watermelon candy. That worked, but the biggest thing with that was around brush. Now, I didn't just throw it down the bank. I did, I guess, to an extent today, because I was just trying to kind of eliminate things to do and just kind of see what was going on. But it seemed the best bite was around brush, either from like inside a main lake point. I had a pile that did good, had a lot of numbers out of there. Had some other piles on some secondary points and stuff that did okay. Basically what I'm getting at is it wasn't a very good bait just to go down the bank on open water. I had to have something there for that Carolina rig to seem like it was really working that well. So that's a tried and true, you know, leading into your spawn pockets and stuff like that. Be a good place to throw it. You can throw it out on the main lake too, on some of the bigger rock and all that jazz, and see what you get out on the main lake, because there's definitely still gonna be a lot of fish out on the main lake this time of year. And then the next thing I threw was just a jig. Got a trailer on there. This is a Bojangles trailer. I cannot remember the name of it. I had to look. It's basically like a crawl almost, kind of. It's excellent skipping bait, but I threw this in basically just the darkest holes of docks. Again, around pockets that these fish can slide up into to spawn. I'm basically looking for fish that are staging. You know, you're not really going to see probably too many sizable fish on the bank. You might find some that are kind of thinking about spawning and messing around. In my mind, it's still a little bit early. The fish do go by photo period. You know, I think that is the biggest factor. The water temperature does play a role in it, but I think it's still a little bit early for them fish to be all the way up there, you know, spawning. So I think you're still gonna have a lot of fish that are gonna be staging. You're probably gonna have some smaller fish that are up there, you know, messing around, maybe trying to make a bed, little males or something like that. But I think a lot of your bigger fish are gonna be pushed off a little bit staging. So that's what I'm doing with that jig. I'm looking for them in that, you know, areas they can stage around these docks and stuff. And then I threw a spinnerbait today too. I actually did not catch anything on a spinnerbait, but I didn't throw it, I guess, as much as I probably should have. And I also did not throw it on main lake. I feel like that's a spot where it could be beneficial. It could work very well, as if you get some of these main lake bluff ends and stuff like that that lead into these little shallow cuts. A lot of times they have like pea gravel, or just the rock kind of steps down a little bit. It's a great place to throw those big spinner baits, throw on the bottom, or those jagged edges, sharp drop-offs and stuff, and just slow roll them on the bottom. And a lot of times you can catch some quality fish doing that. And then I threw a square bill around a little bit today too, along with the rock crawler, just mixing up basically the depth of it, fighting the moss. I changed colors. I had some with orange, I had some with red, I had some that were natural a little bit. I didn't really do worth a hoot on the square bill, but I feel like the square bill is a little bit better, maybe down by like the glaze, or way up in the gravelway, where you've got more laydowns, brush piles, things that are shallow, more targets, I guess you could say, instead of just the floating docks. You can throw that around the floating docks and stuff, and you know, I've caught decent fish doing that, but I feel like they really excel a little bit further up, or if the fish are really, you know, tight to the bank. But it seems like they were just a little bit too deep here for that. Now, jerkbait, still going to be a big player, I think. I think you can still go out with jerkbait and catch some good fish over some of these brush piles, just to spin it over them. Same spots you're catching the fish with the Carolina rig and stuff. You know, I would not be afraid to throw a jerkbait over top of that, or spinnerbait for that matter, and even crash a rock crawler into some of those piles, depending on the depth of it, and see what you can get out of them. So that's something that's always a player, especially down here in this really clear water. As we get a little bit of wind like we do right now, you know, I think you could definitely catch a big money fish on a jerkbait. And then last but not least, you can see I got some slime on there, some leftover. is a Shaky Head. I started throwing that again today. Same spots that I'm throwing the Carolina rig in, and the same spots that I'm throwing the jig in. That's what's nice about the Shaky Heads. You can be a little more versatile with it around the docks and stuff. You can throw the Carolina rig around the docks, but let's be honest, it's hard to get close quarters with the Carolina rig. Sometimes it's hard to throw around right down the edge, like you got that piece that wants to kind of wrap up on something. Somebody's got something hanging off the dock. You know, I know it's happened to me plenty of times. You have good casts and that thing like latches onto something and it just makes you mad. So, you know, it's hard to go wrong with Shaky Head. This is on a, I think a ½ head right now, maybe. Not 100% sure. But just a trick worm, zoom trick worm, and June bug. But any of your colors, you know, your confidence colors, of course, up here at the Ozarks, I feel like black, green pumpkin, June bug, black and blue, whatever. All classic go-to colors. Just use what you have confidence in. I don't know if it really matters all that much. You could upsize to a Magnum trick worm if you're looking for a little bit bigger bite, or if you want to try and fish it around some of the main lake stuff too, some of these points. I feel like this big bass bash is going to be good because I feel like the fish are finally going to be kind of spread out a little bit. You're going to have fish that are starting to transition. You're going to have fish that are going to be out in the main lake. Just be all mixed around. You're not all going to be doing the same thing necessarily, crowding each other. You know, it gets crowded. You get, I don't even know how many boats come up here anymore, 2,000 or something like that, maybe more. But, you know, it gets crowded. There's people everywhere, and it's just nice to be able to spread out a little bit. One other thing that I think will probably be a player in catching some keeper fish is the Alabama rig. I didn't even throw it today. I'm overthrowing it for the year. But, you know, if I have to, if I feel like that's what I need to do to catch a bigger fish, then maybe, you know, that'll be something I'll consider too. But I'd like to not have to throw that if I don't want to. So that's kind of what's going on today. I ran around a lot, tried different things. You know, all it takes is one bite, one fish, kind of get that in your mindset, whether you're throwing your glide baits, big swim baits and stuff. That's become really popular in the last couple years for the big bass bash, you know, and for a good reason, because usually with those style of baits, you're going to catch, you know, a nice caliber fish that's probably going to get you a check. But I like to try and go in between that a little bit. It kind of drives me crazy fishing a big bait or something like that and only getting like 1 or 2 bites a day. I'd rather catch a little bit more but still have a chance of getting a big bite. So that's just kind of how I think about it, I guess, because you start fishing all day and things aren't working out, then your confidence kind of goes out the window a little bit and you can spiral out of control. So for me, it's better to have a little bit of mixture in there to keep my sanity, I guess. So good luck to everybody out there. Hopefully this can kind of help you determine maybe where you want to start or something like that. If you haven't been up here in a minute, or if you're going to come up and fish a little bit beforehand, maybe, okay, I don't want to really mess with this part of the lake. Let's focus on this other part. So we'll see what the big fish is this weekend. I'm going to guess, I'll just put my guess in now, say it's going to be a 738. I'm going to lock it in. 738 is going to win. Let me know in the comments maybe what you think is going to win, or if you think it's going to be bigger, smaller, whatever. So good luck to you guys out there. Hope you can catch a check, and thanks for watching.